I never believed secrets had weight until the night my friend's sister stepped closer. Close enough that I could hear her breathing change. Close enough that the room felt smaller than it had seconds ago. Her eyes didn't blink when she said it. Not joking. Not teasing. But steady and certain. I promised to keep our secret safe. In that moment, every warning my conscience ever gave me went silent, drowned out by the memory of how I even ended up here. I had come to my best friend's house thinking it was just another evening, another argument about life, another laugh over things we never finished. His sister, Aisha, had always been there in the background, polite, quiet, never crossing lines. Or so I thought. That night, everything changed without asking my permission. Started small, harmless, like secrets always do. A conversation on the rooftop while the city hummed below. A shared silence that lasted too long. A look that answered a question neither of us asked out loud. I told myself it meant nothing. I told myself I was imagining it. But when she spoke about her fears, her loneliness, the pressure of being strong for everyone else, I saw myself in her words. And when I shared my own failures, my broken plans, my fear of never becoming more than a background character in my own life, she listened like it mattered. That was the danger. Being seen. The moment her fingers brushed mine, I should have stepped back. Instead, I stayed. And now she stood there, promising silence, promising safety, promising something that felt both comforting and terrifying. I knew what this meant. I knew who could get hurt. Yet a part of me whispered that some moments don't come twice. That some truths demand to be felt before they can be denied. If you've ever been at the edge of a decision that could change everything, you know that feeling. That pause where your heart races and time slows, where you wonder if one step forward will cost you the life you know. That's why I'm telling you this story. Because moments like these don't belong only to me. They belong to anyone who's ever stood between loyalty and desire, between silence and honesty, between walking away and stepping closer. And if stories like this make you feel something real, if they remind you that life is messy and human and unpredictable, then stay with me, subscribe to this channel, because what comes next is the part one never thought I'd survive. The days after that night were heavier than I expected. Every message from my friend felt like a test. Every laugh felt borrowed. Aisha and I didn't talk about what happened, but the unspoken truth followed us everywhere. In the kitchen, in the hallway, in the way she avoided my eyes when others were around, and the way she looked at me when no one was watching. She kept her promise, at least on the surface. No hints, no slips, no careless words. But secrets have a way of growing louder the longer they're locked inside. I tried to pull away. I skipped visits, ignored calls, buried myself in work. Still, she found her way into my thoughts. Not as temptation, but as a question I couldn't answer. Was it wrong because it felt right, or did it feel right because it was wrong? One evening, my friend talked about his dreams, his plans for the future, trusting me the way only a brother chooses to trust. Guilt hit me like a wave. I realized then that silence isn't always protection. Sometimes it's just fear wearing a mask. When Aisha finally spoke again, her voice was softer, almost tired. She didn't ask for promises or future plans. She simply asked if I was okay. That question broke something in me. I confessed my fear, my shame, my confusion. She listened again, just like before, and said something I'll never forget. She said secrets don't destroy people. Choices do. That night, I understood that the story wasn't about hiding anymore. It was about deciding who I wanted to be when the truth finally knocked. Some stories don't end with dramatic reveals or perfect resolutions. Some end with growth, with honesty, with the courage to step back even when your heart wants to stay. I chose to walk away, not because she mattered less, but because integrity mattered more. And she kept her promise, not just by staying silent, but by respecting the decision that saved us both. If the story moved you, if it made you reflect on your own choices, your own hidden moments, then don't let it end here. Subscribe to the channel because these stories aren't just entertainment. They're mirrors. And sometimes, seeing yourself clearly is the first step toward becoming better than you were yesterday. The silence didn't fade with time. It sharpened. Every day after that promise felt like walking on glass, careful steps, Forced smiles, conversations that sounded normal but felt hollow. My friend trusted me the same way he always had, calling late at night, laughing about nothing, talking about the future as if it were guaranteed. Each word landed heavier because I knew something he didn't, and the weight of that knowledge began to change me. Aisha kept her distance in public, but her presence followed me everywhere. Sometimes it was in the quiet understanding of a glance, sometimes in the way her voice softened when she spoke my name. One night she finally broke. Not with tears, not with drama, but with honesty so raw it hurt to hear. She told me she never planned to feel anything, that she only wanted to be seen once in her life without expectations, without judgment. She said the promise she made wasn't just to protect me, it was to protect herself from hoping for something that could never exist. That was when I realized the real danger wasn't exposure, it was attachment. Loving someone silently is like drowning slowly while pretending you're breathing. I wanted to fix it, to say something heroic, to turn this into a story where no one gets hurt, but life doesn't work that way. The truth arrived the night my friend spoke about loyalty, about how betrayal doesn't always come from enemies but from the people you least expect. He didn't know he was speaking to my guilt, but every word felt like a verdict. That was the moment I chose to end it completely. I met Aisha one last time and told her the hardest truth of all, that walking away was the only way to keep everyone whole. She didn't beg. She didn't argue. She simply nodded, eyes steady, stronger than I was, and said sometimes love means choosing pain now to avoid destruction later. We never spoke again after that. Years passed, life moved on, and the secret remained buried, not because it was forgotten, but because it was honored. Some nights, I still think about that promise, about how close everything came to falling apart, and how one decision saved us all. If the story reached you, if it made you pause, feel, or reflect on the choices you've made or the ones you're afraid to make, then stay with this channel. Subscribe because these stories aren't about perfection, they're about truth, restraint, and the quiet strength it takes to do the right thing when no one is watching. Some secrets don't end with exposure. They end with restraint. I never told him the truth, not because I was weak, but because I finally understood that real loyalty is choosing pain for yourself so others can sleep in peace. She kept her promise. I kept my distance. And the secret stayed buried where it belonged. If the story made your heart pause for even a second, don't scroll away. Subscribe because some stories aren't meant to shock you, they're meant to change you. The yacht was still there when Adam stepped onto the pier, but now he was close enough to understand what his tired eyes had struggled to accept earlier. This was not just any yacht. It was massive, elegant, the kind that appeared in magazines or passed silently on the horizon while people like Adam watched from shore. Its white surface gleamed under the calm morning sun, untouched by the chaos of the night before. A few men in tailored clothes stood near it, speaking quietly into earpieces. They looked out of place among the cracked wood, rusted chains, and salt-stained posts of the dock Adam had worked on for years. For the first time since the storm, unease settled in his chest. He considered turning back, telling himself this had nothing to do with him. But then he heard his name. Adam. He turned. The woman from the boat was walking toward him, her steps steady now, her posture composed, but her eyes still carried the memory of fear. She looked different in daylight. Clean, calm, dressed simply yet unmistakably expensive. Beside her walked the boy, holding her hand, his other hand gripping a small toy boat. The child broke free and ran toward Adam without hesitation, wrapping his arms around Adam's leg like he had known him forever. Adam froze, unsure what to do, then slowly placed a hand on the boy's head. The woman stopped a few feet away, emotion tightening her voice. "You saved my son's life," she said. "You saved mine too." Adam shook his head. "Anyone would have done the same." She smiled sadly. "No," she replied. "They wouldn't have, and they didn't." She gestured gently toward the yacht. "My name is Eleanor Whitmore." The name landed heavier than the storm ever had. Adam didn't follow business news, but even he had heard that name before. Shipping, energy, foundations, power that crossed oceans.